awesome day today as you get started. We're going to talk a little bit today about a problem that many of us have. It's a problem maybe you have, maybe it's a problem that you know that other people have, um, and you haven't got any answers to the questions. When I was diagnosed with diabetes back in December 2023, I really had gotten no information as to from my doctor. It was eat less, move more. You know what? We're going to give you a little bit of time to work on that. And when that happened, I was really at a loss. Now, here's the thing that you don't know about me is that I'm married to a doctor. And I will tell you this, the reality of that is I listened to my wife and it saved my life. She was diagnosed with prediabetes the very next month. Now, what I didn't know was that there's an issue that we have in our world, and that has everything to do with a condition called insulin resistance. Now, being a diabetic, totally, I get that. Insulin's not working right, right? That's what I understood. My insulin was not working right. So that's why I had diabetes. My blood sugar was high. My insulin was not keeping it under control. That was what I understood. I learned from my wife as I watched her on a natural protocol that reversed her diabetes that there was far more to it than that. And that the effects of it affect 93% of us around the world, specifically in the United States, but the conditions are growing everywhere. So we probably can look at that and say, hey, you know what? That's really impacting most of us, because if there's one thing that we have done a good job in the United States doing is shipping out the standard American diet. You see, the standard American diet in a standard American day leads to standard American diseases, and standard American doctors give us standard American drugs. And we stay sick. We really have two options, and that is to make the decision to do something more and change that. And the reality of that is we have options more than just going along with ask the questions. As one doctor said, who was calling themselves the America's doctor, basically, I don't have time to listen to your questions. So I don't know if that kind of bothers you a little bit. It kind of bothered me that I didn't, that's all I heard. But this issue of insulin resistance was what really hit me, was that there were more options out there than what my doctor was telling me. So I'm going to show you guys, if I can, I'm going to get this screen to pop up here and share. If you're not familiar with what insulin resistance is, it was something that I was not familiar with when Dr. G and I were both diagnosed with diabetes. And her being a doctor really threw me for a loop, because I was being diagnosed with diabetes. I'd already had cancer, right? I was dealing with obesity. I didn't realize that. I also had migraines. I had heart disease as well. I didn't realize that there was a cause here right in the middle called insulin resistance. So if you like recognize, maybe if it's not you, then who maybe has some of these things that are going on in their lives. How many of y'all are dealing with maybe one or more? Or if it's not you, then who? What about over here with signs of insulin resistance? I mean, that's the thing that threw me for a loop. And so when I say I listened to my wife and it saved my life, I'm not kidding with that. My wife is a doctor. She was the one that helped with this, helped me to understand. So within, I'll change this real quick too, and you get a chance to see. So within just a short period of time, here's what happened for us. And it was the easiest thing to do, right? It was one of the easiest things to do. So I listened to my wife, Dr. G. Sorry, I got a cat hair in my mouth. Record that. All right. So my wife, Dr. G, she was the one that found the protocol, and she started on it. Within 2 weeks, her neuropathy and fibromyalgia disappeared. I don't know if y'all are familiar with neuropathy and fibromyalgia, but it is a condition under the skin, and it's very painful. I had early signs of neuropathy, but she'd been doing it for like 20 years. So by dealing with metabolic health, she changed that. And so within 2 weeks, all that stopped. I could hold her hand, right? Which is kind of something that as a partner, you kind of want to do. How many of y'all like to have intimacy with your partner? You like to hold hands. You like people to know that you're with that person. How many of y'all, if that's you, type yes in the comment. If you like to have good, solid relationships, type me, type yes in the comment. Thank you for the hearts. I'm not sure who did that. For some reason, it's not showing me. Here's the thing. So right there was this change that was happening that nobody was talking about. All right. Oh, hey, Sons Master, good to see you. Awesome. Thank you so much for the comment. Yeah, I'm doing great today, and I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited everybody's in here. Let me know where you guys are coming in from. I am Coach Ken. I'm up in Anchorage, Alaska, so it's great to have some of you guys here. It is like 18 degrees this morning while we're talking a little bit about our health and this journey that we're on. So if you're interested, just stick around for a little bit. I'm going to talk about what we did, what happened, and this whole issue of insulin resistance and our metabolic health. So, because it's not a big deal, but it affects so many of us. And being I've been a pastor. I Coach Ken, wellness preacher. That's because I've been a pastor. I've sat there and watched people have to have legs amputated because of out of control diabetes. That's heartbreaking. And that was one thing that was kind of terrifying to me when I got diagnosed with diabetes. That's where I was at right there. Dr. G was diagnosed pre-diabetic. And the fact of the matter was, I had all these other signs. I'd had a stroke. I'd had migraines. I was dealing with obesity, all of those things. How many of you guys have been hitting it? It was absolutely. But here's the thing, the doctors never told me, and they don't explain that those were the signs of things that were going on a long time before. You could be insulin resistant 10 to 15 years before you even get the diagnosis of insulin resistance. That's the crazy part about it. So, think about this. At the end of the day, when you get home, are you kind of winded and out of energy? If you've got kids, you want to play with your kids. Maybe you want to play with your dog, right? But you're tired and exhausted. If that sounds like you, type me. If you kind of get that brain fog and you kind of forget why you walked into the room, and you feel like you're doing that all the time, that's brain fog. How about you start to have a crash right after you eat and you're starting to think about what are you wanting to eat next? If that's you, type me in the comment. If that kind of sounds like we're doing, that's where we were on this journey. And whenever I get off, I know that's me as well, right? And so we have this incredible problem. But by changing some simple things about what we did, and the natural protocol, Dr. G and I were able to reverse our diabetes, but also all the other conditions that we were dealing with. So let me go back over here to looking at this, because this is so really critically important. So when we look at those signs of insulin resistance, we're looking at this whole list of things here that are impacting our lives over here. And if you look at the list right here, I mean, we're talking about really simple things that we don't connect, but they're all early signs of insulin resistance. Now, I'm a nutrition coach, and part of that is focus on our metabolism. And I focus on that because insulin resistance is part of metabolic syndrome. Now, if you're, again, a lot of science stuff here, I want to try to break it down a little bit. Metabolic syndrome is 5 conditions that we have, 4 of which are high, 1 of which is low. Low is our HDL, high is our LDL levels. All right, our triglycerides are up. We got high blood pressure, we got obesity, we got high blood sugar levels, all of those things that are there. Have you not seen the stuff that goes in what we eat, Lol? No wonder we have mental and physical problems, right? 7119. Exactly. That is exactly what we do. I have definitely seen. That's why I'm here. That's exactly why I'm here. It is no wonder we have a huge problem. that 93% of us are metabolically unhealthy. We're dealing with this, and I'm trying to help people. So, yes, absolutely, that is exactly it. We have got this problem. And if you haven't subscribed, that's what our channel is about, is trying to help people with that. And it's not just the food, it's realizing what Dr. Casey Means and so many other talked about is that our food environment, our soils have been stripped from the nutrients. So our plants, our foods, our animals are not getting the nutrients they need. And that's impacting our overall health. So, but these simple things are hitting us. And I didn't know. I was diagnosed with cancer back in 2000. Then migraine started. Then high blood pressure started. Acid reflux started. And those are all these signs right here that were hitting that I didn't get anything. The doctors just medicated, right? It's just kind of like this. They just keep giving more and more meds, and that's all we get. That's where I was at. That's where Dr. G and I were, right? I weighed in at 288 after I played baseball. I weigh now at 185. Awesome. Do the people who sell the food talk to the people who sell the medicine and both get together and rinse our cash? What makes us... You know what? You and I are thinking alike, my friend, right? Suns Masher. You know what? I've got a buddy of mine. You play baseball. Derek Henderson. I actually got a video on my channel. Derek Henderson played for 19 years pro ball, and so yeah, he definitely he did that for 18 years and didn't realize that his metabolic health was screwed the heck up. He was dealing with low testosterone. So you need to go check that video out. We have Derek on pretty regular. He's a great guy and a lot of experience. He's got another buddy of his that we've had on as well. Do I think those people who sell the food, I think somewhere they do. Think about this, the Food and Drug Administration. This is one that my wife, Dr. G, talks about all the time. The Food and Drug Administration. Why do you put foods and drugs together in one administration? Why does our government do that? Why is the FDA having those two together? I mean, you're tracking right where I'm at, 7119. That is exactly... You got to think about it. You got to think about it. And think about this. How many years ago was it that we had 7 different presidents of tobacco companies get up in front of Congress and say, nicotine is not addictive, it doesn't hurt us? And what did we see happen? What did we see happen? And no one's talking about 1963 being the year that J.R. Reynolds and Camel Cigarettes bought Hawaiian Punch. The first time that a tobacco company would buy a food company. Makes you think, right? And that's when all of this became such a huge problem. Right? Yeah, we get all of these things right here, and my cabinet was full. Think about this one. What do you call the cabinet in your bathroom that's on a hinge? There's a mirror on the front of it and it's got shelves in it. Type in the... What do we call that cabinet in your bathroom? And they're in all of our homes. There's a cabinet and a hinge. Type in there, what do we call that? We build it into our homes. If you know what that's called, type in there, what do we call that cabinet? Even vapes are addictive. They still have the nicotine. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And the side effects are actually shown to be worse. My wife, Dr. G, as a dentist, has sit there and seen those effects. And the connection. Right, 711, it's a medicine cabinet. Bing, light bulb, right? Light bulb. A medicine cabinet. We put it in our homes. That could be a trailer home. That could be an apartment. It could be anywhere. It's a medicine cabinet. We are conditioned to eat. How many meals a day were you taught to eat? Think about this. How many meals a day were you taught to eat? Was it 3 or 6? Or if you were taught 3, how many snacks are you supposed to eat? Type that one in the comment. How many meals a day were you taught to eat, right? Thank you, Suris. I appreciate that. I work pretty good on that one. I let it get long. Sometimes I have some different oils that I put in there, but I appreciate that. I haven't gotten that compliment on here before, but I appreciate it. So most of us were taught to eat anywhere between 3 to 6 meals a day, and usually healthy snacks. Well, here's the thing: 3 meals. So here's the thing: when we eat, what happens? When we eat all those snacks, the average U.S. American eats about 6 times a day. Our blood sugar spikes and our insulin increases. So I'm going to show another slide here real quick, because gives a really good example of what's happening when we're doing that. If I can look at, because what happens is every time we do this, all right, our blood sugar is spiking. That's that line right there. Our blood sugar spikes, and this is our insulin. Insulin is an anabolic hormone that is made in our bodies that is trying to always bring down that blood sugar. So the way I describe it is, we consume, our blood sugar spikes and our insulin increases, right? Less calorie intake equals more lifespan. It's certainly a help. It's certainly a help. The problem with it is your body's not a calculator. All calories are not the same. So the way I like to think about it is, I don't like counting calories, and there's a way to do this that is so much easier. And that's one of the things that I talk about. It's doing meal sequencing, doing meal order eating, and doing intermittent fasting. It's going to put you in a calorie deficit one way or another, but it's a lot easier to think about it, and I'm not counting calories. That's the thing. But we definitely want to do and look at what we're doing. But when we eat all the time, we're still disrupting. We're still disrupting, because when insulin is present, fat cells go whoosh. When insulin comes low, fat cells shrink. Dr. Ben Bickman over at Brigham Young University talks about this all the time. If you've not gotten the book or read Why We Get Sick, he studies specifically fat cells. Specifically studies fat cells. And when he takes insulin away, fat cells shrink. They get little bitty. They get little bitty like that. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we are doing the protocol, when we're eating correctly, there are so many options now. Just look at coffee shops, 40 different coffees around my local. Apparently most are full. Yeah, absolutely. 7119. That's your spot on. Sir, yeah, I don't, why did you retract that? That's totally fine. It's totally fine. Absolutely. It's definitely one way. It's just not the way I coach people. But I'm not offended by that. I just don't coach that as a nutrition coach and helping people. But yeah, our coffees are that way. Here in Alaska, we have like a coffee cart everywhere. It's crazy. I've never seen so many coffee carts. Uh, so, and I did a video about that. I need to, as a realtor, I talk about that too. It's crazy. I think per capita we have more coffee shops. We also eat a lot of ice cream. Per capita, Alaska eats more ice cream than any other place in the world. So there's that. So here's the thing. So we do that when we are eating correctly. That's a huge part of this, right? So we learn about the protocol. We learn about how to do this, right? Is it true chickens are twice the size now compared to the 50s because of pellets they feed them? I don't know the full statistics on it. Yeah, they are larger. I don't know if it would be twice the size, but our chickens are bigger. But I will tell you this too: when you feed them the right things and you care for them, our chickens, we have 5 chickens, and they're pretty dang big, healthy chickens. Now we don't eat them; they're laying chickens. Well, I'm not eating those. So, but it's both sides, but it's also all of the things that they put in there. So they give them a lot of additives. But think about this. Free range. We've got a little coop. They're not particularly free range. We can't have them out in Alaska. They would, if you don't protect them, they would be eaten. We've got eagles everywhere. So if your chickens are free ranging that way, we have a coop that they're in, but there's only 5 of them, and we give them all the space. We take care of them. My wife, Dr. G, loves her chickens. They're sweet girls, and they give some great eggs. So, yeah, it's really simple. We actually have them in the city, so we have a little run. So that's why we don't have a lot of them. But yeah, it was like I don't let my cats out. That's a treat for an eagle. And I said we have eagles all the time up here, so they would snatch those up so fast. Even my crops, yes, they can be. Absolutely. You are exactly right. And that's one of the reasons the protocol has been so very important for us. And I know There's a lot of concern about parasites. What we want to do is create a body that is the terrain theory is what I talk a lot about, that helps to change things. So we get on this path and we change those simple things, right? We could change everything. But having the right things, I always ask 4 questions. How are you eating? How are you exercising? What are your extras? And who are you encouraging? And this live, I want to talk a little bit about the extras that we do. All right, because there's a lot of different things. I had a video that really didn't perform well, so I took it down. But we have to be really careful about all of this stuff. From the supermarket, that's really gritty. Yeah. I don't hunt a lot. I actually, since I've been here, I haven't had time. We do a lot of fishing, so we have a lot of salmon. If there's one thing, that's probably the biggest thing that we do, is we have a lot of salmon. So I don't get to do the hunting that I wish I did, but I do have friends that do more than I do. To do that, I'm a big turkey and bird hunter. So when I get to go, and that's not been much since I've been up here. I've been here for 6 years. So yeah, so you want to do that. We want to get it as natural as we can. Uh, and like I said, salmon is a great one. The omega threes that are in there, the fatty acids, our dogs eat really pretty good too, because we give them some of our salmon. So here's the thing with the protocol. All right, this is a protocol that helps to get us into homeostasis. So those of you out here, maybe you got some questions about what it is that I'm talking about. Is intermittent fasting helps to bring down insulin levels and stabilize the body. Just doing, I call it time-based eating, 2 meals a day. 2 meals a day changes everything when it comes to that, and a huge benefit. And here's the thing, let me go back to this one. We were talking about the food, and this slide right here probably will give a really good indicator. We were talking about the food system and how we've been eating. Is this is our dilemma. We're eating all the time, right? And we talk about how our food's changed. Fiber has been taken out of our food. So like we'll give our kids apple juice thinking we're getting all the nutrients. It's been stripped of the fiber. Over here we look at rice. We look at rice. Rice in nature comes packaged in the bran. That's been stripped. And we see that over and over again. Our bread is the same way, even sugar. Sugar comes packaged in fiber. Everything in nature. And then we eat all the time. Right here, we see we're eating all day with all of these snacks, and every time we eat, our blood sugar spikes and our insulin increases. So when we keep doing that over and over again, Tokyo syndrome. Oh, EM market networking. Tell me more. Or landmark networking. Tokyo syndrome. I've not heard of Tokyo syndrome. You're hitting me with one right there. I'm talking about insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome. I've not heard of Tokyo syndrome. Getting something. I'm gonna have to make a note of that, and educate me. So you're gonna have to share with me. I never knew that about rice. Yeah, on the glycemic index, it is one of. I'm writing this down. Tokyo syndrome. Yeah, so many things. Our breads, I mean, all of the bran, all those things that are get stripped away from that. And when we do that, our blood sugar increases. I tell people, think bread, rice, pasta, corn, and potatoes, those starches right there. Yes, absolutely. Smoothies are terrible. Every single bit of that. And my wife, Dr. G, as a dentist, she's been a dentist for 30 years. She helped me to understand this. This is an important thing. And as a nutrition coach, is learning that there's certain things that break down in your mouth, certain things that break down in your gut. Starches and simple carbohydrates, all carbohydrates actually, the salivary amylase, your saliva breaks down when you eat them. When you eat proteins and fats, that's broken down in the small intestines in the gut. This is why cavities, this is why periodontal disease, this is why issues here, because those get broken down into simple sugars right here. So when you eat those foods, right, and we're eating carbohydrates, that's what's happening. But here's the difference. Simple carbohydrates do that, but when it comes to vegetables full of fiber, guess what fiber does? Fiber changes the profile of the food. That's what it's there. It surrounds and slows digestion, and it slows that blood sugar spike. Here's the thing about the protocol. This was crazy about this. The University of Sydney studied this, and it works like metformin. That lowers the postprandial glucose spike when you drink this. Guess why? Because it's fiber, and it is a blend of 7 different insoluble and soluble fibers. 7. You have to eat a lot of different foods and vegetables, right? Where do they sell rice like that? Basmati rice. Basmati rice. You typically can get it. Basmati rice still has the is the one you can still, yeah, you can still find it. You just have to look for it. That still has the fiber. Yeah. But if you like it, like I said, if you start the food, this is where I talk about meal order eating. The Ohio State, UCLA, the CDC. When you start a meal and you eat fiber and consume fiber, your body and your stomach is like a bag, or yeah, it's like a bag. It just, whatever you put in first is what gets digested in that order. It's not a blender. Everything doesn't get mixed up. I listened to somebody in my office the other day. I didn't have the heart to say, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. Your body is a bag. So when you eat fiber, when you eat those vegetables first, when you drink fiber, like the balance here that we do, that coats the food. It changes the profile. It slows digestion. It gets into your gut. Your body's GLP-1 increases, right? So it slows digestion. Your glucagon-like peptide, which is a catabolic hormone. So the second part of that, and so we eat in the order of fiber, proteins, and fats, or if it helps you to remember this, fiber, fats, and proteins. Not really particularly sure. You just want to make sure the fiber's there. And we want to think about 30 grams, 60 grams, and 90 grams minimum when it comes to the protein. So just kind of think of those as the minimum we want to get there, or just keep that in your mind. When I was 200 pounds, I focused on more protein. That was the big thing. And I did intermittent fasting. How many of y'all have ever done intermittent fasting? If you've done intermittent fasting, type yes or type me in the comment. Let me know. I did it before when my late wife was dying with cancer. I tried doing it. It was hard. Never done it. Okay. Well, here's the thing I'm going to share with you. This is the crazy part about this. So I know we were talking a little bit about this. I'll show you a study. This is from one of my favorite books, The Complete Guide to Fasting. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. The Complete Guide to Fasting. And it's not as hard as it sounds, all right? But here's the thing. When we are doing intermittent fasting, we lower those insulin levels greater, I don't know, than when we're doing calorie restriction. And here's the thing that the protocol does. The protocol includes yerba mate, and the yerba mate that we do increases the body's natural GLP-1, which we hear about with all the shots. How many of y'all have heard of GLP-1? If you type yes. If you've heard of GLP-1, type yes. If you've never heard of GLP-1, type no. I know a lot of people have, but not everybody has. Glucagon-like peptide is a catabolic hormone. All right, but how long do you fast? A week, a month, or longer? I do it every day, in essence. So think about it this way. So what I talk about is 2 meals a day. Rather than eating like this, where we snack all day, it actually improves our metabolism when we eat less. Never heard of that either. Wow, okay. So I'm glad that you're here. So here's what we want to think about. I tell people, start this. First of all, no snacks. Cut the snacks out. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing is go to just stop snacking, particularly too, then at 8 o'clock at night. Don't eat anything until 8 o'clock the next day. It takes about 4 hours for blood sugar to come back down, but it takes about 10 to 12 for our insulin levels to really level out and get back to their stabilized level. So when we do that, that's a 12-hour fast. You just fasted while you sleep. When we get to 16 hours, our bodies hit something called autophagy. Now, we had a Nobel Prize winner that did that research just about a decade ago that when we hit autophagy, the body begins to regenerate its stem cells, your human growth hormone is increasing, your body starts to collect the damaged cells in the body and throw those into the recycling bin. So you start to have the cells in your gut start to regenerate. Anybody here deal with acid reflux? Huge issues right there that so many are dealing with. I was there. 20 years of acid reflux and medications for that. The most popular ones being Nexium, omeprazole, that actually lead to type 2 diabetes. Doctors didn't talk to me about that. Kept me on medication for 20 years. Absolutely nuts. So, and here's the crazy part about it. The same doctor that diagnosed me with diabetes had me on omeprazole. She knew that. She had to. All of the research is there. I can pull it up on my computer. I have it saved in there because esomeprazole leads to type 2 diabetes in the majority of people that are on it for extended periods. And that's just like 8 weeks. I was on it for almost 20 years. Didn't do any study of my gut, anything like that. So by changing how I eat, meal order eating, all right, the Ohio State, UCLA studies are there. So how we break that fast is important. So how often do I do it? Pretty much every day. I usually have 2 meals a day. I usually eat around noon and 6 o'clock, and I stop eating by 8 o'clock. I'll confess I didn't last night. I kept eating. I kept eating. It's carnival season, so my wife is Roman Catholic, so I'm a Methodist clergy. So we kind of celebrate. We ate our cakes. We enjoyed a little bit of dessert along the way, right? We did that. We're actually going to be doing in February a 14-day sugar no sugar challenge. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you guys subscribe and check that out. So let me talk to you a little bit about the tea and the fiber. So we're just going to go into this real quick. So what is the tea? Unimate, right? Hey there, Beams McDuff. Good to see you. How are you? Waving. Glad that you're here. I'm still kind of learning all about this stuff right here. So let's talk a little bit about the protocol. What does that look like? All right. How does this kind of play out? And answer any questions that you have, because this fits into all of the science of our metabolic health. This is such an important thing. So with intermittent fasting, that helps to bring down those blood sugar levels, right? Bean McDuff, good to see you. Hi there. Hello, hello, hello. I wave back at you. I wave back at you, Beans McDuff. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. So the Unimate, comes from yerba mate, and if you're not familiar with it, basically it's an herbal tea. All right, it's actually in the holly family. It's grown in South America. This is anti-inflammatory for one thing. It's an appetite suppressant because it increases our body's GLP-1. It's a natural energy boost, and it helps to reduce brain fog with theobromine, that same chemical that's in dark chocolate that makes us feel really good, and it helps to regulate blood pressure. It's going to increase that fat burning. Thank you so very much, Beans McDuff. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for subscribing. And I need to kind of put one of those things up there. It's not actually letting me put comments today. Oh, wait. I'm getting able to do something I've never done before. Oh, I've got some more stickers. There. Oh, they changed my menu a little bit. So that's interesting. Bingo. Bam. All right. Let's see. I'm going to put this up here. And say hi. There we go. I'm going to put this little sticker up there. Apparently it lets me do things, right? I had no idea. I'm learning all about this. This is totally different channel for me. I like this so much better. There we go. So here's the thing. So this is what we're doing now. In comparison, this is like the Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, but it's helping your body to do it yourself, right? And there's no contraindications. That's why it's in the PDR.net, so any doctor can look this up, all right, and subscribe to it. The fiber matrix, that's the second part of this, right? that we have before our meals to make sure that we get the fiber that we have in our diets. And what is this? Is a fiber matrix, so it's 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers. It helps to slow digestion and the absorption of the foods that we have. All right, its specific impact reduces the need for lipid lowering drugs. Now, if you're dealing with heart disease, if you're dealing with high triglyceride levels, that should ring a bell for you. Lipid lowering drugs, your lipid panels, your triglycerides, this does what those medications like a statin, that's the number one prescribed medication around the world now, are statin medications. This was the Cleveland Clinic, arguably the number one heart hospital, studied this and said that if we would take this on a population basis, it could potentially eliminate the need for lipid lowering drugs, right? And we talked about earlier about the pharmaceutical companies and food companies. Why do they not talk about this? It's in the PDR.net. A doctor can prescribe it. There's no money to be had in that. This is a privately owned company. It is not a company that is beholden to pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceutical company can't make money off this. The doctors that can prescribe it aren't prescribing it because there's no pharmaceutical reps knocking on their door. It's people like us that are telling people about the studies. But a doctor can look right here. A doctor can go to the provider's digital reference. You can go. That's the whole thing. I listened to my wife. My wife saved my life. She went here as a doctor and said, this is it right here. So physician's desk reference. So we don't have to do all the pharmaceuticals. It's an option. We always think that all we can do is go to the doctor and take medication. And I know there's people on here that think that's the only answer. We stay sick, we go take meds, but there is an alternative to that. Our lifestyle changes. And the ones that I teach on here about meal sequencing, about intermittent fasting, and about this protocol saved my life. This saved my life. I listened to my wife, it saved my life. So that is key right there. So that intermittent fasting schedule I talked about, huge, right? How many of y'all have ever done intermittent fasting? I know we talked a little bit about that. You've never done it. Some of y'all have never done that before. I know I have people from different faiths that are in here. I know that we're coming on to Lent is coming up for Christians. Thank you so much, Beans. I appreciate that. That is awesome. You rock, man. Or ma'am, I don't know. All right. But thank you so much. I'm glad that you guys are liking this. And I hope this is helpful. So if you've never done intermittent fasting, type me. If you have, awesome. Stick around. So this is an incredible way to take care of your health. All right, just not eating all the time. For metabolic health, learning the benefits of intermittent fasting. So what we do is I typically fast 16 to 18 hours every single day. All right, I eat 2 meals in a 6 to 8 hour window. All right, the easiest thing to do is to stop eating at 8 o'clock, and then you don't eat again until about 10 to 12. That's the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing to do is to stop snacking. But those cravings can be hard. I get that. That's where the tea comes in. So we sip on this. When I wake up in this morning, I start sipping on the tea. I just mix it in a water bottle. If I want it hot, you can drink it hot or cold. It's a great option. And you just sip on it. Every time you sip, your GLP-1 increases. All right? And so it helps to knock those cravings down. We do that over about 3 or 4 hours. I eat a meal. Then I do it again for another 3 to 4 hours. It's that simple. All right, when you're ready to eat, you just have your meal. And we want to make sure we focus on fiber, proteins, and fats. Now, typically every single day, I'm going to take this fiber at least twice. Before the meals that I have, I'm going to have that fiber. What we know is that fiber is the carbohydrate that helps to lower blood glucose levels. If you are dealing with metabolic conditions, if you are dealing with heart disease, if you're dealing with high LDL levels, if you're dealing with high blood pressure, if you're dealing with those high blood sugar levels, any of those signs of insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome, this is key to getting that blood sugar under control and then bringing down those insulin levels. All right, slows the digestion without having the side effects. I want you to stop and think about that for a second. That's the PDR.net. Your doctor can look in there and see that there are no side effects. This is food. This is medical grade fiber. Right here is a tea. This is yerba mate concentrated. These are simple to do. We have to do them consistently, though. All right, remember what I said, those carbs turn to sugar. So when we're not careful, when we're having those simple carbohydrates, those are always turning into sugar. All right, supper routine is the same thing. When I get to dinner, I mix up the fiber. I have a salad. All right, I make sure to have the vegetable. If I can, if it's not, I always have this with me wherever I go. So on the road, I have this in my car. I have it in my backpack. Total game changer. Total game changer. How many times when you eat that you start to think about the next meal that you're having? How many of y'all do? Beans McDuff, thank you so very much. I hope you're safe out there today. Where are you guys coming in from, by the way? I know you're going to Walmart. I didn't get a chance. I asked that earlier. I know you guys are getting ready down in the lower 48 to get hit with some snow over there. All right, in the Midwest and the East Coast. So praying for you guys. Parkour, good to see you. Parkour God, good to see you this morning. So here's the thing. We're not tracking calories. We're not doing points. We're not tracking macros. We're not on some crazy diet like that. All right. We don't weigh our food. We don't measure our food. We eat our food. We eat until we're satiated. When you eat this way, you eat until you're full. You get to enjoy the food without sitting there being and acting like this is a calculator. All right. Yeah. You can drink coffee. People ask that all the time. Can you drink coffee? Yes, you can drink coffee. You can drink coffee. Just don't put a lot of sweeteners in it. In fact, a little bit of heavy whipping cream, but you want to keep it black coffee. You want to keep it there. You don't want to break your fast. Coffee helps to increase GLP-1 as well. So does green tea. So try to drink it black. And then make sure you're sipping on the coffee. Now, here's the other thing. What is the cost? That's one thing that people always get to. What is the cost of this? And I know that can be intimidating for people. Well, here's the thing. Think about it this way. Dr. G and I save about $400 to $500 a month. The average U.S. American spends between $20 and $30 a day in snacks and bags and boxes and bottles with barcodes, and having that extra meal every day that we don't need. All right, if you take that meal out, that's a savings of about $5, right? So if you are not eating fast food, take that meal out. All right, you're saving about $5. In addition to that, okay, we're going to cut out snacks. We cut out those things, and let's just go on the low end. If we take $20 and we think about that over 30 days, all right? So $20 over 30 days, that's $600 that we're spending on all of the food that we're eating that we started saving. I took about $5.40 a day to get the tea and the fiber. Now here's the thing. My wife bought I lost 10 pounds after a 3-day fast. Might do it again to get my goal. Hey, Fry2548. Awesome. Exactly. That's important. We're going to be doing a no sugar challenge coming in February. So you did a 3-day fast. Was it a water fast? How did you do that? Just out of curiosity. The more you can do that, you don't have to do it. If you do it regularly, like I'm coaching right here, most people find that to be super easy. That's what the tea really helps with. It makes that fasting easier so that I do it every day. And like I said, my wife bought a thing of Reese's peanut butter cups the other day. $4. $4 for 4. I only drink water. Okay. Perfect. Yep. And you want it when you're fasting. You want to get electrolytes. You want to get water. You want to stay hydrated. So good call. Yeah. I do this for health. There's typically going to be weight loss involved. Part of it though is getting overall health. And when you get healthy, you typically are going to lose weight. That's pretty standard, right? That's a big part of it. Dr. Jason Fung talks about this and Dr. Mindy Pelz about the benefits of fasting. Roy, the human billboard. Yes, fasting is so good for you. Yes, it is. It is an incredible thing. Bingo. That's exactly. You were in here. I was just talking about this. The complete guide to intermittent fasting. There it is. By Dr. Jason Fung. It right there with the protocol and eating correctly, doing meal order eating, how you break your fast is as important. So here's what I do. I spend, and I know it's intimidating. It might be. I spend about $159 a month on a supply of the tea and the fiber to make sure that I have the food. I've created an environment in my body that's metabolically healthy. All right. What is your diet? Hey, great question. Thank you so very much for asking. So, my diet is low carb, and I hate even saying that. I really don't diet. So if that's one thing about the protocol is I tell people I don't have to diet. When I drink the tea and the fiber, I don't. If there's one thing that I look at though, I would say close to being low carb as I can be. And when I say carb, I mean I'm not eating the things in bags and boxes and bottles with barcodes. I'm not eating, or I'm eating in the right order: breads, rice, pastas, corn, and potatoes. Those carbohydrates, I put them at the end of a meal. So I eat in a particular order. All right, meal order. It's what my grandparents always said: eat your veggies first, right? How many of y'all heard that? Eat your veggies first. So what I do is I eat fiber, fats, and proteins. That's where I prioritize. When you're eating proteins and when you're eating fats, have the least amount of spike in your blood sugar, all right, and that insulin response. When we have the fiber first, your stomach's like a bag, so it coats everything. That's one of the reasons why I do the fiber here. But I have a whole list of fibers that I eat. I don't know if this would be helpful for those of y'all coming in. If I can find my list. Looks like somebody's messed with my stuff. I have cats that are running around all the time. So people ask me a lot, and there's a lot of things that we can eat. So when I think about it, the big things for me, I love um, spinach. I like fresh spinach. I'm a big fresh spinach person. So I'll start a meal with a salad or greens. It could be any number of things: cabbage, cauliflower, celery, cucumbers, green beans. I start with the greens on the plate. There's good berries that you can have as well. Any of the berry family is good. There's fiber in there. Even with that, I still like to keep that at the end of the meal. Then I eat the good proteins. As far as the hunting, people are asking, you're in Alaska, you do a lot. We eat a lot of fish. Salmon is the big thing up here because we get to go fishing in the summer, and those salmon runs are long, and we stock up. So, I mean, it's not hard for us to go the whole year on salmon alone, which is definitely good for you. All right. So, but meats and proteins. There's a lot of good. I coach people that are vegan and vegetarian. So, but you still got to prioritize protein. And then we look at healthy fats. We go for nut oils, not seed oils. So that's a big thing. Non-dairy fats, we go with ghee. You can do lard to cook in, tallow, good options. Full fat cheeses. Greek yogurt is a great option as well. So those are some of the things. So that's kind of what my diet looks like. The thing that I never stop doing and stop listening to my wife. And so I'm going to go back to what I said before is I listened to my wife and it saved my life. So I listened to my wife, it saved my life. And I don't mean that lightly. My wife is a doctor, so she knows her crap pretty dang well, right? So I listened to my wife and it saved my life. That was the change that happened for us. And if you're interested in our coaching, if you're interested, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot of videos about that. But if you're interested in the protocol, right, you can. That's my WhatsApp number. That's my right there. I eat beef, Greek yogurt, and strawberries every day. Great call, Fried 2548. That is a great call. Beef, Greek yogurt, and strawberry. I like that. That sounds like a great diet right there. That you warm my heart, my friend. That definitely is good. I love Greek yogurt. I actually found that I will mix. We make ours own at home. We get raw milk. We make our own Greek yogurt. and I will mix the fiber into my yogurt. So I'm getting the fat in here. And sometimes we have some preserves, and I'll put some fruit preserves in here. Blueberry preserves are great, huckleberry, and raspberry, and mix that with the fiber. Man, it's good. It's good. Um, Beef is a great option, absolutely. Strawberries are great. Those berries have a lot more fiber in it than people realize, and it's such an important thing. So yeah, we do a lot of chicken. Like I said, salmon is a big thing for us. We usually get two chickens a week that we will spatchcock and cook, season, and then we will put that into an instant pot for bone broth to help with our fasting, and to get the benefits of the collagen. Yeah, that's a great option. Absolutely. Great options right there. Absolutely. And those have been that's been huge. And changing the order that we eat. I haven't pooped for 3 or 4 days. That's pretty bad. Man, crazy guy. Why do you think that is, crazy guy? Yeah, you should be pooping in there somewhere. And I'm going to tell you right now, how is your. I'm joking a little bit, but I'm not. How is that fiber intake? How is that fiber intake? Because that can be a big issue. And eating can be a thing. Now, I'm not a doctor. As a nutrition coach, I'm not against doctors. I'm married to a doctor. You eat lots of bread. That's probably one of the biggest issues. It sounds like that kind of heavy carb diet. Simple carbohydrates, breads, rice, pastas, corn, and potatoes. You'll hear me say this. Your salivary amylase, break that down in your mouth. My wife's a doctor. It becomes sugar. So that white bread is higher than table sugar on the glycemic index. I was reading somewhere, and I'm not going to verify. I cannot verify this. I haven't looked at it. One post said that 2 slices of bread spikes blood sugar more than a Snickers bar. I'm not going to confirm nor deny that. I have not researched that. I don't have it. Part of that's going to be individual, how your body responds to it, and how you were eating before you had it. But when you start a meal with carbohydrates, that standard American diet, that's part of what's I can tell you with that, knowing that little piece of information as a nutrition coach, that's gumming up your system right there. I'm not saying you can't have bread. Eat in this order. If you don't get anything else from you, fiber, fats, and proteins, put the bread at the end of the meal, but eat until you're full before you have the bread. Um, or lunch, just dinner. But if you're still eating the breads, it won't make a difference. You're not breaking that fast. Have you seen the new food pyramid? I think carbs are on the lower. Yeah. Oh, I love the new. I call it a funnel, because they flipped it upside down. And yeah, I like the new food pyramid. As far as that goes, I know people want every food to be on it, and it's like, okay, you can't put everything in there, but the approach is spot on. It is spot on. And I think more education is needed. But yeah, those carbohydrates, those simple carbs, because the thing about it is, there's two different carbs, of carbs. There's your vegetables. There are your complex carbohydrates and your simple carbs. They're not the same. But no bread, mostly carrots, beef, and peas. And I'm from Australia. Okay. So I would sit there as far as that goes. What kind of peas? I would focus on the beef for sure. But I really would, if you haven't talked to, I'm not a doctor. And like I said, as a nutrition coach, we want to get things that are moving through the system. All right. And I know for a lot of people, works really good is um, celery, increasing that, increasing getting romaine lettuce, anything along those lines. I would cut back on the carrots. There's a lot of sugar in carrots. All right, the beef and the peas should be good, but start focusing on some more fiber. And I definitely, you need to talk to your provider about it. As a nutrition coach, and that being an issue, definitely something to be looking at. I'm not concerned about the beef. The carrots will be the thing. But if you've been eating a lot of bread, drink a lot of water. Um, you met some Air Force Kiwis. Nice, cool guys. Nice, nice. Um, so yeah, so look in that direction. And those of y'all that are coming in, I'm getting ready. I'm going to actually be switching to a different live here in just a minute. I've got. I'm going to do a thing on men's health here that I did last night. But thank you guys for being here in the live today. You guys have been awesome. Make sure that you subscribe. And those of y'all that came in to say hi, make sure you subscribe. Get on our newsletter. If you go to our website, go to healthytogether.live/hashtag book, and you can get onto our page. We also have a live coming up tonight. I will be coming on live. Dr. G and I, we've got some guests coming on. We're going to be doing a live here tonight. So if you subscribe, you'll see us coming on tonight. That'll be 9 p.m. Central Time. So if there, like I said, I'm going to be switching over. So stick around. If you're subscribed, I'm going to be live again here in just a minute with Dr. Lindsay Vinn regarding men's health in particular. I was because I'm learning a bunch as a testicular cancer survivor. Men's health is a big thing for me. So thank you guys for being here. If you have questions, don't hesitate to message me. That is my my link tree, that www Ken Hagler. All right, that is my WhatsApp. You can text me. I do a free consultation when you order the product. When you do the tea and the fiber that I talked about, that with that comes Dr. G and I as coaches. We are nutrition, metabolic nutrition coaches, helping people with their health, with insulin resistance, and all the things that we talked about. So I'm so glad you guys were here and support me. Thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow. So same bat time, same bat channel. Go get the day. Go be excellent to one another. Make it golden. And we'll see you guys back around on the flip side.